to this afternoon's webinar. Welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar. This afternoon's topic is what's new in Moodle. So this afternoon just going to talk about some of the new features that have been introduced to LSBU's Moodle. Before I get started, I'd just like to go through some instructions for the webinar. I've switched off all the microphones, so I'm the only person that can speak, which means that if you want to send me a question, or you've got a query, or you don't understand something, the best thing to do is use the chat facility. So on the bottom left hand corner of the screen you'll see an instant messaging icon, so I've highlighted that with a red arrow. So if you click on there, that'll open the window on the left hand side and you can start a conversation there just by clicking in a question. I'm on my own today actually, so I'll pick up these questions at the end of my presentation if there are any questions, so just pop them in there. It'd be difficult for me to actually answer the questions as I go along today. Say I'm on my own, usually with a colleague. Okay, so that's one way to communicate with me. And I'll leave my contact details up at the end of the session, so if you want to send me an email afterwards or even contact me by phone, that's fine as well. Okay, so the aims of this session, so basically I've got two main aims. So first of all, I'll give you a very brief overview of the new Moodle user interface. So anybody who's been into Moodle since the summer will recognise there's been a few changes. So I'll just highlight a few of the changes, but apart from the colour, it's not a massive big change. More importantly, I'll just give you an overview of there are 3 new features that have been introduced. A tutorial booking tool. This enables you to get your students to book up to an individual session. A group self-selection, so this is fairly self-explanatory, so it enables the students to join their own groups. And then thirdly, something called a progress completion block or bar. So what this does, enables the students to see how they're completing the course visually. Alright, so I'll speak for 15 or 20 minutes, and I say if there's any questions at the end of that, best to ask me on the chat room facility. Okay, so what I plan to do now is I'm going to log into the LSBU Moodle site. This just take a few seconds to load, and then once I'm in it, which I've gone into it fairly quickly, I will talk you through, say, first of all, the main features that have changed. So you should see in front of you the Moodle site. So the first page I'm in at the moment, so once you've logged into Moodle, you'll come to what we call the dashboard page. So this is kind of the landing page of the Moodle site. And again, anybody who's used it before from last academic year, you'll notice the color changes. So it's a bit darker, and the contrast a bit more user-friendly for students who may be finding the old colour scheme a bit difficult to read. Alright, so if I take you round the front page, on the top left-hand corner there's a button called Moodle Help. Again, this is a really useful little button. If you click on there, there are basically 3 sets of information, 3 important links. I won't click on them, but I'll just briefly explain them what they are. So the first one is click here for online help. So this will take you to a place where you can find online videos or help sheets, staff guides on how to do things in Moodle. Secondly, there's a link to booking a face-to-face training. So if you need one-to-one training, then click there. And then finally, if you have a technical issue, say one of the tools in Moodle's not working, you need to contact the ICT service desk, and there's their email and phone extension details at the bottom there. Okay, so it's a useful little button. In terms of the rest of the page, you'll probably be very familiar with if you've used it before. So you've got your active modules. So these are the modules that you're actually teaching on. Your active courses. So if there are any courses that you're actually enrolled on this semester, and then some of you might have some other resources. I've got quite a few there only because I'm developing little projects. Okay, you probably won't have as many as that. Two important buttons are at the bottom of the page. So if you want to go back to your previous modules, say from last semester or last 2 years, you can go to all my Moodle sites. So if you click on there, that will take you to previous modules that you've been enrolled in. And then if you want to go to the site catalog, say for example you want to go to someone else's Moodle site, you can go on to that, but obviously you'll have restricted access in terms of accessing that particular course, but you can actually go to it. The only thing that's really new on this page are on the right hand side. Can you see we have a new block that says FAQs, so frequently asked questions. So these are questions are aimed at you as lecturers. So these are the things that commonly you have problems with specific types of questions. So the first one there is, what if my students aren't enrolled? So if you click on there, you get a little pop-up box and gives you an answer to the questions there. So the aim is that these questions will maybe change over the course of the year. So for example, later on this semester we'll have questions up there about issues to do with assignment submission. Also, the students will have different FAQs. So obviously the questions they ask are different from the staff, and obviously their answers are different as well. Okay, so that's all that's new. The latest notices are linked to the notices that are posted in the modules that you're enrolled in, and then the learning links, there are links to all sorts of useful resources that exist in the university as well. Okay, that's it in terms of the dashboard page. What I'm going to do now is actually go into a module, sorry. So I'm just going to click on this module here, which is really just a testing area for me. But I've got it set up pretty much as what a individual module would look like. So again, you're probably very familiar with this look and this feel. So it's only really the colors that have changed. So on the left hand side we've got the course menu. So I've got sections on module overview, assessment and feedback, resources, and then the weekly content from week 1 to week 9 going down the left hand side, and those sections are in the middle of the page. Okay, so right, that's it in terms of the new user interface. I think, as I said before, there haven't been big changes. It's really just a colour. Everything else still stays the same. So you've got the administration section, which is only available to staff on the left hand side, and then you've got various boxes or blocks on the right hand side. They have stayed the same. The only addition is the new feature that I'm going to look at, and then the editing button is still located on the top right hand side. So if I was to turn, editing is by default switched off. If I want to switch it on, I just click turn editing on, and then when that turns on, you can see you can start changing the actual content of the page. Right, let's move on in terms of the 3 new features that have been integrated into Moodle over the summer. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, I've just created this little section at the bottom called New Features. So I've set up 2 new features that we have put into the course here. So first one is called a tutorial booking tool. So here's an example of it. To actually create a new one, all you need to do is turn editing on and then go to add an activity or resource. Click on here, and in the pop-up box you select tutorial booking. So the tutorial booking activity allows students to sign up to a single slot. So it could be used for tutorials, and an example I'm going to show you, it is for booking a tutorial, but you could just as easily use this for, say, a visit. If you were going off campus and you wanted students to sign up to different slots to visit a different location, you could use it for that. You could use it for one-to-one tutorial bookings, anything where you want your students to sign up for a specific date and time. Okay, so let me just cancel that, switch the editing off, and this is pretty much what the students would see. So they sign up for your tutorials here, and then in this example I've given the students 4 slots to join up for, so they could either join up for the 15th, 22nd or 29th of October or the 5th of November. And I'll show it to you what it looks like from the students' side of things, but it's fairly clear in terms of the times that they are signing up for, and I've also put a room number and a building where they're expected to go. Also, I've put a maximum limit on the amount of students who can come to that individual tutorial. So basically, as you can see here, we've got 5 places available. None are taken at the moment, but as that 5 filled up, then once we get to 5, no other student can join that particular slot and have to go to another one. Okay, so that's a nice little slot. Once the students join the tutorial, you can do various things with it. So for example, you could send a message, an email to the participants of that particular all of them who signed up to it, or to an individual group. So I could send an email to the 15th of October 10 o'clock class saying there's been a room change, or make sure they need to bring any details with them or something like that. So that's a nice way of managing your tutorials over the course of the year or course of the time slot. And if you wanted to, you can export the list of people who've signed up. You can export that as a CSV file as well. Right, so that's the first new feature, tutorial booking. Let me go back. The second feature is to join a group. So again, I've mocked up an example here. I've called it join your presentation group here. So if I click on here, here we've got an example where students can actually go in and then join a group. So this is what it looks like from the lecturer's perspective. So again, I've set a minimum group size. So for these presentations, they have to be in a group of a minimum of 3 participants, but the maximum size is 5. So once they get to 5, they can, no one else can join. Okay, so again, to set up that particular feature, turn editing on. Add an activity or resource, and then select group self-selection. Click on there and then click add. There'll be a few settings that you have to look at, and you can vary the settings as well. So you can change the size of the group, you can allow students to create their own group names, you can allow them to join a group or leave a group, you can allow them to see other group members if they want to as well. So you've got some control over how they self-select those groups. Let me cancel that, switch the editing off. Okay, so that's the second feature, and again I'll show you these features from a student perspective in a second. The third new feature is called the completion progress bar or block. And again, if you look, I've actually added one on the right hand side of the page. So you've got completion progress bar, and actually, if I click on in the bar, if I click on overview of students, you'll see what the students see again, or you see it from the lecturer's perspective. So in this particular module, I've only got 2 students, but obviously in your modules, you're probably likely to have a lot more than that. I've got Dale Sampit student 4 and Dale Sampit student 1. Now I've got a lot of activities, so if you look at the completion progress bar, every line, blue line, shows an activity that the students have to complete. You probably wouldn't have as many as this in reality, maybe only 3 or 4. So when the line is blue, and there are lots of them here, these are all the activities they need to complete at some time in the future. So these are things that they have to do, and it gives them an overview of all the different things. When the bar goes green, as it has done for 1 of the activities for the first student and 2 of the activities for the second student, that means they've actually completed that activity. So you can see at the end of the progress, the first student has 1% progress and the second student has 2%. So again, this is a very detailed module. So you actually got 100 activities in both of these, and the first one's completed 1 activity, i.e. 1%, and the second student 2%. If they miss a deadline, then the line goes red. Okay, so that's quite useful because at a glance, you can see how each individual student is progressing in the course. And again, the students get a similar view, but just of themselves. But you as the lecturer would see every single student's completion over the whole module during the whole semester. So again, and then and if you, more importantly, it would highlight to you any students who were maybe not completing the task and therefore more likely to fail the course or drop out. And at that stage, you could maybe contact the students before things got too bad and maybe pull them in for a tutorial, speak to them in person, or give them further guidance of what help they needed. So again, a very simple tool which is relatively easy to administer. So to set up this tool, this block here, this progress bar, first of all we have to turn editing on, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and then you'll now see this new block that says add a block. So click on the down arrow and then select completion progress. And again, you can see I now have got two blocks now, but saying exactly the same thing. But that's how easy it is to add a completion progress bar. Again, obviously to delete it, I don't need 2 of them. So I just click on the little wheel icon in the block and then click delete completion progress block, and then it will disappear once I've confirmed it has done so. Okay, so that's how you add the actual block. There's a couple of things you actually have to do to fully enable it. First of all, if you go over to the right hand side, you've got edit settings. So here you have to check that completion tracking is on. So scroll down to about 3/4 down the page and enable completion tracking. So quite often by default that's switched off, so you have to click that from no to yes and then save and display. Also, you have to make sure that the actual activity has the completion tracking switched on as well. So if I go to submit assignment 1 here, if I go to edit settings, and then scroll down to the bottom of the page, you will see activity completion. So where it's got completion tracking, it says show activity as complete when conditions are met. So they either have to view it or submit it in this particular case for actually to that be recorded on the completion tracking bar. Okay, so that's it in brief from the lecturers, i.e. your perspective. So 3 new features, relatively easy to install and use. Let me log out now and I'll just again very briefly show them from a student's perspective what they actually look like, because they look slightly different when the students log in. So I'm just going to go into a dummy student account. I'm going to go to the module that we've just been looking at, and straight away you can see in that module the students can now see the completion tracking progress bar. So again, they've got a visual representation of all the bars, all the activities through the individual bar, which is, whoops, it seems to have jumped out of there for a minute. Okay, so again, it's all blue, so it's telling the students they've got a lot of activities to do in the future. If any of those go green, that means they've completed something, and if they go red, it means they've missed a deadline. So again, a nice visual way of the students seeing how they're progressing through the course. The new features that I talked about, the other 2 new features, were the sign up tutorials and the group self-selection. So if I click on the first one, again, the students have got the options to join any of those time slots. So if they would like to join the 15th of October, they just click where it says sign me up for this slot, and then once they've signed up for it, they get their confirmation. So it says currently signed up, and then and it will tell the rest of the class there are 5 places available, but 1 is taken and 4 are free. If the students decide actually they don't want to do that slot, they can come out of it. So click on the link, remove me from this time slot, confirm, and they might say, right, okay, I want to join the next week and join the 22nd, sign me up for this slot there, and again it will give them confirmation that they've changed to that particular slot, and then you will see it as the lecturer. Okay, so very simple, very nice tool. Again, the second one is the join a group link. So this is what it looks like. So it says these are the instructions I put up. Join your presentation group here. You must join a group by the 27th of October. So clearly the students have to sign up by then. Gives a minimum and maximum group size. The students, to sign up for it, they click on the link, create a new group. I've set it up so they give their group a name, and they can even give it a group description. So they might want to call it, I don't know, for first year business class, or whatever they want to call it. You can actually, the students can actually set a password as well, which I've enabled here, but that's not essential. It's up to you as a lecturer whether you want them to do that. And they've actually just once they've confirmed it, they can see the group there. I haven't enabled it so that other people can see the group members, but then they can join the group and even leave it if they want to after that. So if you've got a large numbers of groups, then they can self-select their group there. Okay, so again, that's it. That's what it looks like from the student's perspective. And those are the 3 new features basically. So let me log out. Takes you back to the home page. If I go back in now, just want to go back. I've just got a couple more slides that I want to end up on, so I'll just bring those up onto the screen. It'll just take a couple of seconds for that to load. Okay, so as I said before, if you need further help on any of those new features, click on the Moodle help, where there are links to guides, and you can sign up also for some face-to-face training. In future weeks, we have got further webinars planned that are advertised on the internet. So things like approaches to providing electronic feedback. I'm doing a similar webinar tomorrow on anonymous marking in Moodle, and getting your Moodle module ready for next semester. Okay, I'll just leave my contact details up on the screen for a few minutes if you need to email me or contact me. Okay, thank you very much everyone, and see you next time. Bye.